Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in such a long time, but we're back. We're going to be talking about all the books that I want to read this spring, and then we're actually going to go to the bookstore and get some of these books. The books that I want to focus on for this spring are definitely small town cowboy romances. I feel like spring is just the perfect time to read these kinds of books, and I'm so excited. There's so many that I want to read. So we're going to talk about those, and I'm also going to include some books that are not small town romance, that are kind of just books that I've been wanting to read, and I feel like they would just be really good to read in the spring as well. All right. So let's get started. So we're starting off strong with this small town cowboy romance by Elsie Silver. I feel like Elsie Silver is just the queen of small town romance, and I know that I have to read some Elsie Silver books this spring. There's just no question about it. So I really want to read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in the Rose Hill series, and it's about a single dad who falls in love with his best friend's little sister. I actually have not read a book with that specific trope, so I'm excited to read this one. But let me read you the book description. She's been driving him wild for years, the good kind of wild. The kind of wild that comes with wanting your best friend's little sister and knowing you can't have her. Forbes may have labeled Ford Grant the world's hottest billionaire. Oh my gosh, so it's a billionaire romance too? It's gonna be my first billionaire romance. I'm so excited. Ford Grant, who is our male main character, is a single dad in this book, but he doesn't know that he had a kid before until this 12-year-old girl shows up on his doorstep, and he ends up hiring the female main character named Rosie, who kind of comes back into town and is desperate for a job, so Ford Grant hires her. She's his best friend's little sister, and he's trying to keep his hands off of her, but we all know that this is a romance book, so they're probably going to end up falling in love. But I'm so excited to read their story and finally start the Rose Hill series. The next book that I want to read is also an Elsie Silver book. It's called Heartless, and it's the second book in the Chestnut Spring series. I read the first book in the series called Flawless. That's about a bull rider. But this second book is about the older brother who is a grumpy farmer, and he's also a single dad, but he is a single dad to a little 5-year-old boy. And the female main character in this book is named Willa, who is the best friend of the FMC from the first book. From the first book, I really loved Willa's character. We got like little sneak peeks. And then Kate is just known as this grumpy older brother. So I'm really excited to read about their love story and how they like work together. And it's also an age gap trope. So he is about 15 years older than Willa. So that is also going to be interesting to read. The next book that I want to read this spring is Done and Dusted by Layla Sage. This is also a first in the series, part of the Rebel Blue Ranch series. It's also a best friend's little sister trope. The male main character in this book is known as a bad boy with a bad reputation, and he actually used to tease the female main character when they were younger. So they've known each other since they were young, but she comes back into his life and he just can't seem to stay away from her. I just know that the banter in this book is going to be so good. And I've also heard nothing but good things about this book and this series in general. So I'm really excited to finally start this series as well. And let me just read you the book description for this one. It says, she's off limits, but he's never been good at following the rules. For the first time in her life, Clementine, Emmy, writer, has no idea what she's doing. She's accomplished everything on her to-do list. She left her small hometown of Meadowlark, Wyoming, went to college, and made a career for herself by doing her favorite thing, riding horses. But after an accident makes it impossible for her to get back in the saddle, she has no choice but to return to the hometown she always wanted to escape. So she's kind of coming back to her hometown, which is kind of like what I did. I recently moved back to my hometown, and I feel like I can relate to her in that way, which is why I want to read this book, because I feel like I can relate to her. The next book is called Holding the Reins by Paisley Hope, and this one was actually recommended to me by one of the employees in Barnes & Noble. She was raving about these books and this author, which made me so excited to read. And it's also a brother's best friend trope. I feel like a lot of these books have that. I don't know if that's like a common theme in these books, but it seems to be. But the male main character in this book is a retired superstar, and he's also the local hometown hero. hero, and the female main character really needs a job, and he kind of helps her out with that. But he also teased her when they were younger, and she's never gotten over that. So when he hires her, she really makes him work for her attention, which we love to see because she is not going to make it easy for him. Also, I don't know if I said what series this is from, but it's the first book in the Silver Pines Ranch series. And the book description says, in this steamy cowboy romance, a woman returns to her family's ranch after a broken engagement and finds herself falling for her brother's best friend. Take a deep breath and let go of the reins. Cecilia Cece Ashby is finally escaping the toxic relationship that has consumed her entire adult life. She's returning to her hometown of Laurel Creek, Kentucky, and to her family's equestrian ranch, unsure of what the future holds. Nash Carter, the newly retired superstar of the Dallas Stars, is Laurel Creek's hometown hero, local business owner and notorious bachelor. It's been years since his days of tormenting Cece with her older brother Wade and Cole, so when Cece needs a job, he feels drawn to help her. Nash can't seem to take his eyes off of his best friend's little sister, and it seems she's been staring right back, not without animosity left over from his childish teasing back in the day. I feel like this one sounds very similar to Done and Dusted, so I'm curious to see if they are going to be like the same story or how the story is going to be different, but I am going to keep both of them on here just because the Barnes & Noble employee was raving about this book, so I want to read it too because she was so like passionate about it, so I am going to keep this one on the list. The next book is called Alive and Well by Bailey Hanna. This is the first book in the Wells Ranch series. The third book in the series actually comes out in May, and this book I was so excited about when I was reading the book description because it's about a grumpy rancher and a city girl who fall in love, and it really reminded me of the show Farmer Wants a Wife. This book gives off that type of vibe, and if you haven't seen the show, I 10/10 recommend it, especially if you like small town cowboy romances. This show is a small town cowboy romance with, I think it's like 4 or 5 different farmers, and they all are looking for love. Some of the girls that go on this show that are like competing for their love are city girls. But let me read you the description so that you can see what I'm talking about. A city girl fleeing an abusive marriage suddenly finds herself working on a cattle ranch. He's worried she won't stay. She's worried she will. City girl Cecily Kennedy never expected to step foot on a cattle ranch, but when her already strained marriage takes a violent turn, a kind friend offers her a job and refuge at Wells Ranch. Ranch life is hard enough without her new boss, Austin Wells, sending mixed signals about whether he wants her or hates her. Cecily can't risk getting involved with her grumpy yet alluring employer, and getting over her ex by getting under Austin isn't worth the potential fallout. I feel like this is going to be a slow burn romance, and I love slow burns. I love the tension it builds and the banter it builds, and just seeing the conflict arise within the character about liking somebody but not wanting to like them. I just love that about slow burn romance. I haven't read a slow burn in a while actually, and I kind of miss it, so I'm excited to read this one. And the last cowboy romance on my list is called Chasing the Wild by Elliot Rose. This is the first book in the Crimson Ridge series, and when I was reading the description for this one, it felt like this book was a little bit more spicy than the others. I feel like this is going to be more on the spice side. However, the reason why it's on this list is because of the age gap, and it's not just an age gap, it's an age gap with the female main character's ex-boyfriend's dad. I know, scandalous. I just feel like this book is going to be full of drama, and I am a sucker for drama, and I'm a sucker for scandal, and I feel like this is just going to be the most dramatic, scandalous book, and I'm so ready and excited for it. The next few books on my list are not cowboy romances. These are just books that have been on my radar, and I just want to try and get to this spring because they've been on my TBR for a while, except for one. One is actually a new release that I'm really excited for, and that new release is called Watch Me by Tahira Mafi. This is the first book in the spin-off series that is based on the Shatter Me series that I actually recently finished. I finished it like a couple weeks ago. This new book is based on James's point of view, and James is the little brother of Adam and Aaron Warner, but it's set in the future. This is after the Shatter Me series, after all those events, and James is a little bit older, so it's about his story going through everything that happens after the Shatter Me series. The next book on my list that is not a cowboy romance is Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe, and I've actually been avoiding reading this book because I just know there's going to be so much heartache, and I was kind of avoiding all of that, but now I am so ready to continue this series. The next book is called Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is actually the second book of the When in Rome series. I read the third book, which is called Beg, Borrow, or Steal, so I'm kind of reading this series out of order. That's okay because they don't really go in order. It's an interconnected standalone series, so I can pretty much read them in any order that I want. But the reason that I picked this one and not the first book is because it has a cute little pink cover and flowers on the cover, which to me is more spring vibes. And the first book in the series is called When in Rome. That one is more like summer vibes. So I'm going to read this one in the spring and then the other one, When in Rome, in summertime. And the last book on my list, it's actually a romantasy. It's called Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. And this one, I actually started reading the prologue last week, and it really reminded me of Daenerys Targaryen, or Khaleesi, you know, the mother of dragons from Game of Thrones, because it has to do with dragons and dragon eggs. And if you've seen a Game of Thrones, that's how her story starts, where she kind of like has these dragon eggs and then she goes into the fire and the dragons are born. That's how this book starts. I mean, I only read like a couple of pages of the prologue, but that's exactly how it started. And I'm so excited because I actually really like Game of Thrones. So I was excited to put this one on my list. So those are all the books that I for sure want to read this spring. I know that there's so many new releases coming out this spring. So if you have read and recommend any new releases, please let me know, because I've been trying to keep up with the new releases, but there's just so many. So leave a comment down below with a new release that you know is going to come out this spring. That way I can try and read it as well. And if you've read any of the books that I talked about, let me know in the comments down below. That way we can start a little book discussion. All right, now that we went through my spring TBR, we're going to go to the bookstore and buy some of these books for spring. It is now the next day, and I'm going to show you all the books that I got during my book shopping. First book that I got is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. The next book that I got is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. The next two books are by the same author. The first one is called Holding the Reins, and the second one is called Training the Heart. I feel like both of these books have the cutest covers, and they just scream spring vibes. They are just so cute and so pretty. I'm just so excited to start these. The last book that I got is Alive and Wells by Bailey Hannah. So these are the 5 books that I got. They are mostly cowboy country romances, which I am honestly not surprised about and really truly excited to read. So I am going to end the video right here. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.